What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today I'm going to show 10 games that are niche, that are free, that are new, that I think you guys should try out. I know they're not for everybody. However, this collection of games, maybe you'll find something that you'll stick with. Maybe you'll just have an experience. Actually, I implore that you play all of these games because they will leave an impression on you. They will leave you with something, okay? Good or bad, I don't know, but I think that they're all worth at least trying because they're freaking weird, okay? And me, I'm a fan of uniquities. Literally, my slogan here is that we go into the nooks and niches of the gaming market and communities. We try out new stuff and share it, and that's what it's all about. So this is a top 10 that really exemplifies the stuff I'm into, and hopefully you guys can explore that with me. So let's do it. Top 10 new niche free-to-play games. All right, guys, first up, we got Gloria Victis here at number 10. Now, the game is actually pretty in a rough state, I would say. Well, compared to many in the genre, it's actually pretty freaking awesome, but it's not quite free to play yet. You still have to buy into it. It's still early access, and I mean, it's early access, like literally, okay? So a lot of the functionality of the game is not polished, and there's actually just like a lack of functionality in many aspects. However, the core concept there being this sort of low fantasy, faction versus faction, open world PvP, sandboxy type of thing, it's actually pretty cool. A couple other games have been trying to do it. A couple other MMOs do exist. However, I feel like Gloria Victis is actually our best bet, even in early access. Even though I have, played through it and I've seen its roughness, I really actually still believe in the production of this game. I feel like it's actually going to go places. So that's why I'm saying it here. Yes, it's not for everybody, and even to the people that do like the genre, there are competitors that maybe are technically fully released, but no, actually, I think I'm keeping the hype alive for Gloria Victis. Now, coming in at number 9, we have Battlerite. This is a MOBA that just completely focuses on the battle arena portion. Some people would call this genre the brawler genre, or brawler MOBA, or multiplayer online brawlers. Anyways, so it's just 3v3 or 2v2 or 1v1, and it completely focuses on the mechanics of character versus character. Now, there are rounds, and in between the rounds, you actually do get traits that kind of enhance your gameplay, but overall, it doesn't have itemization. It doesn't have the normal MOBA map, and it's really, I can't stress this enough, incredibly mechanically intensive. So fighting games on PC already pretty freaking niche, but then put that into like the MOBA genre, which is already competing with like League of Legends and stuff like that. So to people who actually enjoy this game and really dive into it, yes, there's definitely some uniquities, but to a new player, it's gonna seem like it's kind of falling in between two worlds where there's just a whole lot of competition already. But I'm gonna ask you guys, dive into it, check it out. There's a whole lot of goodness here in Battlerite. Coming in at number 8, we have Tiger Knight Empire War. Now, this is going to be for the player that's a little bit more of like a history buff, or maybe somebody who really likes to fantasize and theorize about mixing and matching different armors and different unit types and seeing how that actually stacks up in a historical sense, but not really. It's definitely still a game. I don't know, people who like World of Tanks and World of Warships will actually probably fall in love with this game as well, even though mechanically, seemingly, and aesthetically, it's very different. I think actually in the end, the overarching like gameplay is very similar to those games. It's, big team battle, slower pace, more strategic. The customization and monetization is actually like identical to World of Tanks, and overall like the mixing and matching of units and the literal RTS mechanics, because you can actually send out your different units in different places, is very much in line with something I would expect from that genre of, the World of series. So if you're really a fan of those kind of things, but you kind of want a little bit of a Mountain Blade-ish kind of mechanics to the game, because you do actually control your commander, and of course in a medieval setting, I think that this is the fantasy that you want to go and play. Coming in at number 7, we have Faria, which even in the tactical CCC genre, which I've already done a top 10 just on that genre, Faria is really special because tactical CCGs focus on board play. However, Faria is the only one that I've played where you actually build the board as you play it. So it's definitely just a little bit more special. Also, I really appreciate, because you build the board in its board and land mechanics, which is something like basically if Magic the Gathering had a literal board you play on, then that's kind of what Faria would be like. That actually changes around a whole lot of the deck building and mechanics. And overall, since CCGs are about deck building, I feel like Faria has some of the most unique decks that you could possibly make. A lot of different gimmicks, a lot of different strategies and tactics, and I really appreciate Faria for that. So yeah, the whole board, building gimmick, it's more than just a gimmick. However, at the same time, it separates it greatly from other tactical CCGs, makes it maybe a little bit more niche, but to me, a little bit more special. Next up on the list, coming in number 6, we've got Skaara, The Blade Remains. Now, I played this back in like press access, super pre-alpha, and it was extremely rough, completely unplayable. However, it's come a long way from where it has been. I think it's still pretty rough around the edges, but it's trying to do something unique and interesting. Now, I have played actually a couple of other games that are in a similar or branching genre, such as Archblade. There's this game called Chronix, and actually I could just list tons of games that you have no idea what I'm talking about, because this genre of like these 3D team brawlers, or I don't even know what you would call it. I mean, it almost seems like a MOBA, like Battle Right, but the camera angle change does impact the gameplay a lot. And I don't know, this whole like MMO battleground-ish similar genre is just something that's very unheard of. This is incredibly niche, and Skaara itself is still not very popular, even though it's probably the most popular of the genre, especially because it's just now releasing. So I don't really know what to say about this. Think like Soul Calibur if there's teams, maybe? It's kind of like that, and I really want to play these games. However, it just kind of happens that not many people play these games. For one reason or another, I don't know, but Skaara is probably the best one to bet on. Halfway on the list, we have a game that I actually put in my top 10 2D arena shooters, and that's going to be Awesomenauts. So Awesomenauts, being a 2D side-scrolling platforming arena shootery MOBA, is definitely very niche, but also the fact that it wasn't free-to-play. It just now went free-to-play. So yeah, that's kind of a big reason why it wasn't very popular. I mean, it was known. I mean, it is a known awesome game. Awesomenauts is pretty awesome, but the thing is that it cost kind of a good chunk of change for comparatively what it was and, you know, the MOBA genre as a whole. So even when I had press access to go actually and play during the giant expansion, new characters and stuff like that, I actually had trouble finding matches. So hopefully it's not too late to go free to play like a couple other games that happened recently. Hopefully now people can jump on and see the charm and see the character and the love in this really weird game, but hey, it's a really good weird game. Alright guys, next up on the list we have the Secret World Legends, which is something of a relaunch for Secret World. It's going free to play as well, and it's supposed to have an update to a lot of the mechanics. Mainly, I think the combat is getting a revamp. So Secret World was a game that I was like extremely excited to get into. However, I didn't because the gameplay just didn't really jazz with me, since I was a big fan of, like, you know, the free roam and explosivity of World of Warcraft back in the day. However, I think with the Secret World Legends and now my more mature taste in action RPGs, I think I might appreciate it a little bit more. Now, it's really niche because it focuses really more, like, I know it's an action RPG, but it really focuses on the RPG. I actually put this in my top 10 RPG MMO list as number 1 because it's really more of like a role play and diving into these communities as a player and an avatar and a person all combined and really exploring these stories. It's a very storied game, and it's very interesting and intricate like that. However, the combat update, maybe more people will play it, more people will try it, and maybe I and you, and maybe we can all fall in love with it. All right, coming in at number 3, we have Fractured Space. Now, this slot was actually competed for by a game called Cloud Pirates, as well as a game called Dreadnought. However, I feel like Fractured Space is the one that I really want to put on this list because it's the one that really pushes forward the nichities, the uniquities, really pushes forward that World of Tanks in space kind of gameplay, where it's really strategic, really slow-paced, and it has just a tremendous amount of customization, requires a tremendous amount of team play, and just other games that are coming out don't quite emphasize that enough. So you have Dreadnought, which is a little bit more kind of dogfighty. Cloud Pirates as well, even though it's airships and has a really unique aesthetic, is actually very similar to Dreadnought. And then you get into genres like War Thunder, which is straight up dogfighting. So this really slow 3-dimensional flying or aerial combat, you don't quite get it to the extent like you do in Fractured Space, and that's simply why it made the list. Coming in at number 2, we have Quake Champions. This is a game that I've covered extensively and I enjoy, and I'm going to continue streaming, and I like it, and I think it's really cool. And really, like, the numbering on this list is kind of arbitrary because I'm ranking it based on quality, but at the same time as uniquity, and normally those things don't quite go hand in hand. But however, Quake Champions is a cool game. However, it is more or less like half the same of what Quake has always been, and it's very arena shootery. A lot of people are going to be like, yo, that's Quake. I mean, it's got champions, but it's still Quake. So overall, in terms of uniquity, you know, I mean, for the arena shooter genre, it is actually very special. Adding in these characters and how they work mechanically with the game is pretty special. It does change the game, but it's still an arena shooter. It's still Quake, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, it's a pretty awesome game. I very much enjoy it. I like what they're trying to do, and they're striving for new things with a genre that's really freaking set in stone. They're trying to carve out a new path. I appreciate that, but I know some people also won't. They don't really like the changes, and some people think that changes more, and some people think that more changes should have actually occurred. Maybe kind of like myself, I think that maybe we could have some different weapons that aren't a decade old, but hey, that's why it's only number 2. Number 1, we have Snow. Now, you can actually go click the link in the description to see my first impressions on all these games, the videos, relevant top 10s. But Snow is a game that I really I dig so much, man. I know that there is Steep, that is a competing game that's not free to play. However, I feel like Snow has some very special things that I could just go on and about, which I literally do in my first impressions and multiple videos I've done on the game. But this is a game that is just, it's so chillaxed, okay? It's a snow sport, free to play, open world, kind of sandboxy little game. It's weird, okay? Like, it's an extreme sport game, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel that extreme. It's not just in your face, whoa, boom, pow. It's more kind of slow paced, and there's a lot of little tiny intricacies to the mechanics of the game that can make the game really awkward, but at the same time, there is a lot of playability if you can get past that initial hurdle. So I will warn you guys about that, and actually many of these games on this list, there is going to be an initial hurdle of, whoa, this is really weird, I don't know if this is for me. Just try it. I promise. It will leave an impression on you. Thanks for making it to the end, guys. I had a lot of fun putting together the list. I had a lot of fun playing the games, and hopefully you do too. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys, and I'm glad that you appreciate me appreciating these games, and hopefully we can appreciate it together cyclically. That'd be really fantastic. Give a like, subscribe, share this on Reddit and stuff like that. You know, the video. Get the gospel out there. Okay, guys? It'd be really fun. This channel's new. These games are newish, and the whole point is to meet new people and have new experiences. So I kind of need you guys to make this work, and hopefully we can continue having fun. My name's Skylent. I'll see you in the next one.